Ain't shady, baby, I'm hot, like the prodigal son.
Hello, this is the 3GA podcast, better known as Three Guys Analyze, and this is episode 1, so enjoy. I am your host, Matt Onstein. To my immediate right is Tony Courier, live from Lima, Ohio, and Rick Martin, currently in transition from work to home in Chicago, Illinois. First segment we're going to do is talk about some sports. So I was at the Cavs Golden State Game 3 last night. Tony, what do you think of the game?
Disappointing to say the least, let me tell you. I sat there, and as you're watching the game, you have complete control through the first half, and then boom, the Warriors once again hit the quarter stride. And Kate is unstoppable. He is. On a day where Clay and Steph aren't shooting well, it's amazing that they then have their next superstar that can just step in and say, hey, don't worry about it, as the Cavs flounder again. However, I was impressed with the way they played last night, except for them just allowing rim runs at will almost, I do believe. I thought Rodney Hood played solid. I think JR needs to have his minutes cut in half. That was for sure. I thought that after game 1. But overall, their positives just sucks that now it comes to game 3 and we're now down 3-0.
All right, that's fair. Ricky, you were watching at home. What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of what Tony said. I thought, JR played a magnificent first quarter, which was great. I mean, that's what you expect, right, at home. Where the hell was Rodney Hood this entire playoffs / second half of the season? I don't know where that came from. He actually looked like he remembered how to play basketball. The role player stepped up in the first quarter and a half. I felt like we really missed an opportunity when we were up by 13 to kind of, blow it wide open and put the Warriors out of contention. But we let him hang around. Have to give credit to KD. KD played out of his mind, which is, like Tony said, that's really the fundamental difference between the Cavs and the Warriors, right? Is the Cavs, they have one superstar who has to play an A-plus game in order for them to have any chance of winning. The Warriors have two of those guys. Game 1, KD's terrible, and they still win. Game 3, Steph Curry's terrible, and they still win. So, I thought I thought it was a microcosm of the entire series, right? Is the Cavs are good for a half. They run out of energy. They don't have the depth. They don't have all these superstars that can get their own shots and score when they need to score. And I honestly thought LeBron had shades of 2010 Celtics Game 6 there in the fourth quarter, where he just kind of looked defeated, knew that he had no chance of beating this team, and really just wanted to be done with the series. I mean, I'm sorry, I'll say that. Warriors are up by 1 point with 3 minutes left, and it's J.R. Smith jacking shots, Jeff Green jacking shots, Rodney Hood I mean, it's like everyone but LeBron putting his head down, getting to the free throw line or scoring. So I don't know what you guys thought about that, but that was my viewpoint of LeBron last night. I mean, Matt, you were there. Like, did you sense that in the building, that LeBron was just done?
Early, he didn't take many shots in the first half, but early, the crowd was into it. It was raucous, really loud. And it was kind of like LeBron was feeling the game out. What I've noticed, especially in this playoffs, is that he's really trying to make the extra pass, which oftentimes results in his own turnovers, like he's trying to press. But he looked in control, like he's taking the game slow. But I know in the fourth quarter, it looked like he was gassed, like he was over it. Every now and then he'd get on the break, but he wasn't pushing the ball. He'd push it to about the 3-point line and give it up. But Kevin Durant was the reason they lost that game. Every time he hit a big shot, the crowd was defeated. It looked like their team was defeated every time Durant hit one of his fadeaways, especially that last one at the end. I mean, that was a dagger. But
that was amazing the entire time how we're playing defense with J.R. Smith or George Hill on Kevin Durant. I mean, a lot of that is self-inflicted wounds.
Well, it's switching. We're switching everything.
Well, true. and I don't think that's good for our team. We were good in the first couple rounds with the trap, and then all of a sudden we haven't tried to do that.
No, they tried to do the Warriors strategy, right? Switch everything, or the Houston Rockets, switch everything, and that's how you beat the Warriors. Which I don't think that's a bad strategy. I just think we don't have defenders that can play. Well, we just don't have the defenders that can go one-on-one against those guys. But
we don't have Trevor Ariza. We don't have Luke Richard. We don't have
PJ Tucker.
Yeah, we don't have the bodies. Like, cool, Kevin Love is long, but he's also incredibly slow. And
they don't know what a slip screen is. Yes. Someone needs to teach them. I mean, that was all the Warriors ran in the second half. It was like, holy crap. Every single shot was a dunk or a layup.
I can't explain to you how many times we get a big bucket and then they would just run a slip screen and someone was wide open to the basket. And resulted with LeBron James yelling at a teammate or them just not even covering it, which I don't understand.
Well, then let me ask this: how much of that is because of the fact that we haven't had an off season or a training camp or something of the sort?
Well, it's definitely team cohesion, right?
Like we've just thrown this team together at the deadline and said, "Here, go try to win a championship."
Yeah, I mean,
you look at it. I mean, maybe Rodney Hood, he played well because number one, he was probably very well rested, and number two, how many pep talks did the guy get in between games 2 and 3? I mean, I heard he talked to Gary Payton. He talked to a couple old players that he played with. He even said he was watching his own YouTube highlights to remind himself he was still a good basketball player.
Okay, let's get to that. Let's talk about Rod Hood. I can tell you from when he came in, he looked like he wanted to attack. He looked like he wanted to score. I mean, LeBron and the Cavs were giving him that. They were getting him on the weak side where he was able to drive. Ricky, what do you think about Rod Hood in this game?
I mean, he played well. I mean, that's obvious. Yeah, I thought that somebody pulled him aside, really, and I don't know why this was done or wasn't done, 4 weeks ago. But if you look at LeBron-led teams, right, they function best in the scenario where they have two people that can get their shot, right? So you have LeBron, you have Kyrie. You have LeBron, Dwayne Wade, right? So that's kind of what LeBron needs because otherwise he has to carry the entire load. And even LeBron being as superhuman as he can't do that for an entire series playing 48 minutes a game. So I think, Ty Lue, you can say what you want about his coaching, but finally realized, hey, Rod Hood, you're our best guy or second best guy at getting your own shot off the dribble or creating your own shot. Go out there and do what you were doing in Utah when you were scoring 20 points a game. And he finally did that. I mean, I don't know why it took them until, game 3 of the NBA Finals in order for them to unleash this side of Rodney Hood. But it worked. I wish they would have, found this earlier, obviously. But, yeah, I thought he did pretty well.
He definitely, in my mind, is a better overall player than JR because he can score around the basket. He's
just younger.
Yeah.
He's flat out. I mean, J.R. Smith, he's washed. I mean, let's face it.
How many teams could J.R. Smith start on in the NBA?
I mean,
let's maybe even rephrase this. How many teams in the playoffs? Let's just do the playoffs, okay? How many teams would J.R. Smith even see minutes on a team?
I think he would see minutes. I just don't think he'd be a starter.
On who? He's not going to see minutes on the Warriors, right?
I'm talking
he wouldn't see minutes on Houston. He wouldn't see minutes on Boston. He wouldn't see minutes in Philadelphia.
I could see him playing in Indiana. Maybe in Milwaukee.
Maybe.
I wouldn't see him playing in Washington.
I don't think he'd. Yeah. No.
No, because Brad Beal and John Wall. I mean, ideally, JR is a Jamal Crawford type player. Ideally, he comes off the bench, he gives you 20 minutes. He's
he's a poor man's Jamal Crawford.
Yeah, he's a poor man's Jamal Crawford.
Which Jamal Crawford is a poor man's starting shooting guard.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, the second half of his career.
No. All right. So to wrap a bow tie on this, Rod Hood, if you look at the plus minus, he was minus 12 while he was in the game. Now, whether that be that the Warriors played better in the second half when Rod Hood played most, you can look at it that way. And JR was -4. Now, I don't know what that means, but JR did play more in the first half. So I was watching the game, and K-Love had a really solid outing. I felt like he should have played more, but he had good buckets when he was in. Ricky, what do you think about K-Love's performance in these finals?
You know, I don't know. K-Love is just he's frustrating, but he's not frustrating. You know, I mean, like, he's just there. Like, I just have grown to accept K-Love as like this guy who's gonna get you 15, 20 points, 8 to 12 rebounds. But I can't remember the last time I watched a game and I thought to myself, wow, we really won that game because of K-Love, or K-Love gave us a lift. It's just, it's like vanilla pudding. He's just like there. He's going to do what he's going to do. But I just don't ever really feel like, for being the second option, he's a second option guy. The interesting question is, and I'll ask you this, Matt, is K-Love, is he going to be in Cleveland next year? Will they be able to keep LeBron and K-Love? I know he's under contract, but his contract's one of the reasons why we can't really sign anyone that's worth coming to play with LeBron, let's say.
I'm of three minds on the subject. If LeBron stays, I think we should keep K-Love because LeBron likes him, and K-Love's like a perfect player to play around LeBron. If LeBron leaves, I'd almost rather blow it up and get rid of K-Love and keep the young core. But then I wouldn't be against keeping him because I feel like sometimes he's hampered by the spread pick and roll action that we run with LeBron because he's always playing around the wing. He's disengaged. I think when he actually gets the ball in the post, he can be pretty effective, but he's just not used to doing it. And it gets out of his comfort zone. Too many times he's just like a scarecrow in the corner waiting to get the ball passed to him.
Trade him.
Tony?
Look, I'm looking at it this way. If LeBron's staying, we got to do whatever it takes, obviously. And I think the first thing you got to do is you got to get Caleb out. He's a defensive liability. I mean, is he a two-way player? No. And that's what we need more of. We need two-way players that can beat the Warriors flat out. Because, yeah, the Rockets gave them their best bet this year, but with the news that
Here's the question, and this is an honest question. And I can probably guess what your answer is going to be. But would you rather have PJ Tucker or K-Love?
K-Love.
Who would you take on your team?
I would take K-Love. Yeah, I like the guy.
Playing with LeBron.
It depends on how
Tony.
it depends on what, like how we're gonna. Number one, is Ty Lue gonna be the coach going forward? That's a big question.
Well, that's a different conversation, I think.
I understand that, but I think with the way Ty Lue wants to run things, Caleb's the best bet. But let's say we bring somebody different, then that's a whole nother conversation. I just think Caleb's days are numbered in Cleveland. I just do, because if no matter if LeBron stays or not, because if LeBron's staying, we got to do something quick and fast to get ourselves young and athletic before training camp starts. Because in essence, we're going to need training camp to build that team chemistry. We can't do it on the fly like we did this year. Think about it. If we had that training camp, that off-season period, I think we'd be winning games rather than just saying, well, what happened? Because, yes, we've been competitive in all three games. And, hell, I think there was something – we're 2 minutes away from being 2-1.
Hey, you're starting to sound like a Browns fan with that comment, by the way, because the Browns are always about 2 minutes away from being 8-8 every year.
Well, I understand, but I look at Cleveland, and they need a point guard, number one, and they need a rim defender, number two. To double T, he can't do it. Now, can Larry Nance do it? I don't know, because he's 6'9". But I think, that Brooklyn pick, we might need to save that for a big man.
Well, and they need an athletic rim protector. Like, they need Clint Capella, who can,
Yes.
step out and, hold his own against Steph on a switch. Yeah, that's my biggest problem with K-Love, and that's why I asked the question is, K-Love is in today's NBA, which is basically an isolation, we'll put you into your worst defender on our best offensive player, and then good luck. He is just such a defensive liability out there. I mean, I know he has spurts where he plays decent, but holy cow, he is just for being basically a glorified 3-and-D guy, and he doesn't play D, so it's I don't really know how much value he's bringing.
He's definitely a liability. He gives a good effort, but he has no foot speed. And he's a terrific offensive player, but the way we use him, where it's LeBron and 4 shooters, you're wasting all of that post-up action. And a lot of times when they do post him up, it takes the offense completely out of rhythm, which I've always had a problem with. You're either playing with LeBron where he is the focal point and he's running the offense. And when he's out, for some reason, K-Love is running the offense out of the post, which totally no one knows how to play like that. So they'll have to make up their minds somehow. Right. And moving on. So as I mentioned before, Kevin Durant was everything for Golden State. And in the stadium, every time Durant hit a shot, the crowd went silent. What do we think about Kevin Durant in today's NBA? Tony?
Well, he's just picking up where LeBron left off in 2010. I mean, with the decision, LeBron said, I'm taking control of my free agency now. And that's what Kevin Durant did back in 2016 with Golden State. Now, I mean, is it fair to the rest of the NBA? No. But, if Golden State's still willing to pay, and if these guys are still willing to take the discount, then, I mean, you have to tip their hat to them that they're just going to continue building championship on championship.
Ricky, what do you feel about that?
On Kevin Durant or on the Golden State in general?
Tony, we'll get to the Kevin Durant taking a pay cut here in a minute, but so when I was watching yesterday, Steph Curry was 1 of 13 or whatever, maybe 3 of 13 with 6 points, 9 points. And Klay Thompson made a couple shots. Durant was the team. Is Durant the alpha on that team?
It's interesting. And I think Durant's probably one of the more fascinating players in the NBA, which is saying something given the personalities that are in the league right now. But, and Bill Simmons said this on his podcast, is he talked about basically the energy in Oracle and the difference between Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, and how that is still Steph Curry's team. And that Kevin Durant could have a game like he did yesterday, and the crowd is obviously into it. They're excited. But he talks, and, obviously he was there for games 1 and 2. And he just said that the way they react when Steph Curry hits a shot versus Kevin Durant is completely different. And everyone in the stadium knows that that's Steph Curry's team. And I think, Durant, he's just such an interesting guy, right? I mean, he had the whole fake Twitter accounts or whatever they were, inconspicuous Twitter accounts where he's defending himself, but doesn't really want to do it as himself, which is fascinating as, the second best player in the NBA. And then, he's got this whole thing going where he very quite possibly could spend his entire career never being the best player in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's always lived in LeBron's shadow, and LeBron still is a better player. I think Kevin Durant's having a better series, obviously on the better team, but LeBron's still the best player in the NBA and in the world. And by the time LeBron relinquishes that title, it might go to the Greek Freak or Embiid or, it's fascinating that Durant can be as good as he is, and he may never be the most loved player on his team, and he may never be the best player in the NBA while he's playing, which I think is a fascinating thing.
Tony, you want to say something?
Well, let me ask this then. What would be the perception then if, say, down the road, LeBron doesn't win another title? Let's say LeBron goes the rest of his career without winning one, maybe winning one more. Well, what if KD now with the Warriors wins 2 more and picks up 4 rings, so LeBron's 3? then what would be the perception then?
I think KD's tarnished almost. Like I just don't think like I don't know what KD could do in his career to get him into the conversation of being better than LeBron or being better than Jordan, or like he's just, there's like those guys like Kobe. Kobe probably really doesn't have any business being in the conversation of best player of all time. But
Well, he wasn't the best
he
player
was
on his own
such
team.
right. But he was such a personality. People throw his name around there. There should be like 10 other basketball players' names put before Kobe in terms of the greatest of all time list. And Kobe's always way higher than he should be. And I feel like Durant's going to be a complete opposite. Like, I feel like people are going to dislike him because he's not a really likable personality. He's kind of a douche. He left Oklahoma City to go join the team that beat his team the year before to win titles. And like I said, he's never been the best player. I don't know. Matt, do you think there's anything he could do in his career to elevate him to that conversation?
I mean, just watching him as a pure specimen, what I watched him do last night was almost unreal, unfazed. Like the shots, the running fall away bank shot that he hit after being fouled, the pull up 29-footer he hit at the end of the game. Like the man is unguardable, and he might be the overall best shooter in the league, inside outside. But he literally, if you can't beat him, he joined him, and that it's not that he just joined any team. I think the difference with LeBron is the Heat were okay. I mean, they had Dwayne Wade, but they weren't the best team in the league when LeBron joined them. But Durant literally joined the best team in the league with 2 All-Stars. And how you feel about Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, it's like everyone knew Jordan was the best player on his team, regardless of what Scottie Pippen did. But on any given day, you don't know if Durant's the best player on his own team. Or, when LeBron won his titles in Miami, he was the best player on that team. Dwayne Wade gave it up to him, right? You can't say that about Durant, and you'll never really know.
Because this will always be Steph Curry's team. As long as Kevin Durant is in Golden State, it'll always be Steph Curry's team.
I think that's valid.
Yeah, I agree with that. Steph Curry, he's got a key to the city. I mean, he was drafted by them. And, they always talk about this complex that Curry has, right, where he can do no wrong because nothing was expected of him, right? I mean, I think that Durant's got more on the LeBron James side where he's going to be scrutinized his entire career because of how good and how much talent he has versus Steph Curry was supposed to be a small guy who was maybe going to be fun to watch for a few years and has blossomed into a 2-time MVP. But, yeah, I think – I don't know. I mean, Durant, as a pure basketball player, Durant's phenomenal. I think he's the best offensive player in the NBA. He's probably in a couple years will be the best all-around player. I think the thing that separates him and LeBron is LeBron has much better court vision and passing capabilities. I think KD is just a pure scorer. Mm-hmm. I think LeBron's still the better overall offensive player, but scoring-wise, KD is the best.
I wouldn't disagree with that. He's unguardable for all intents and purposes. I don't know if there's someone in the league that can guard him.
Who in the league can't guard him? I mean, is there anybody in the league besides LeBron James who just doesn't feel like it to conserve energy? Who can guard him?
I think the only person that could would be Giannis. I mean, he's got the length, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism.
Yeah, you'll see when Kawhi comes back. Kawhi is healthy. I think Kawhi can guard him. I think there's players in the league that can slow him down, but it's like the NBA, right? I mean, you're not going to go out there and play one-on-one. They'll just switch Kawhi or switch Giannis. They'll put him onto Chris Middleton or someone and let him go to work. But and what you said earlier, Matt, is a great point too. I think it tarnishes his legacy that he's not even really necessary.
No, he's not.
I mean, honestly, if you took KD, okay, let's play this scenario for a second. And this was basically game 1. I mean, really, but because KD was awful in game 1. If you took KD off this Warriors team and gave them a healthy Iguodala, I still say they're favored in the series pretty sizably, actually.
I think they are too. And if they didn't have Durant on that team, I think Steph would probably play better because he knows they can fall on Durant. Same thing with Klay Thompson. They can rely on Durant to get them through and put up the shots.
Yeah. I mean, Curry, they won game 1 without Durant. He did nothing. They
Yeah.
won. Game 2 is completely Curry. I mean, the dude just went, bonkers in the second half from behind the arc. Game 3, they probably would have dropped without Durant because those guys played terrible. And then we'll see the rest of the series. But, I mean, you're not going to get Steph Curry to have that bad of a shooting performance 4 out of 7 games.
Steph Curry
it's just not going to happen.
He was 3 of 16 from the field, 1 of 10 from 3-point with 11 points. They're +0 with him on the court.
I mean, how many games is Steph Curry shooting, 10% from the field or from 3-point land? I mean, you could probably count on one hand in the past 5 years.
No, that's valid. All right, moving on.
Yeah, really, he didn't get his first one until about 2 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, too. So,
all right, that looks like a wrap on the Kevin Durant conversation. Well, now I guess there's a second point to that is Tony brought up that, and I've heard you say this, Tony, that Kevin Durant has ruined basketball, but that's more of a situation with the cap. Now, I was discussing this with your brother yesterday, Tony, the difference between a hard cap and a soft cap. Whereas we have this fictional cap that teams have, but they really don't have it. So the logic is Durant went to Golden State, which sucks because it ruins parity. But can you blame Kevin Durant for doing that when he's able to? I mean, who wouldn't want to go to the best team in the league?
I guess it just depends on personality. I mean, for him, he wanted to chase his championships, and he didn't have to be the guy. Because when you think about an OKC, yeah, he had Russell Westbrook, but he was the guy. I'm not sure. Maybe Kevin Durant's personality doesn't lend him to be that number one leader type quality like a LeBron. Because when you look at it, I mean, I just don't see where it made sense besides chasing the rings.
Okay, Ricky, what do you think? Do you think Kevin Durant going to the Warriors was that good or bad for the NBA?
I don't know. I too early to tell. 20 years from now, you might look back and say it was one way or the other. I think the part that he definitely is scrutinized more than LeBron when LeBron went to the Heat is that KD played on a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest. Anyone that watched, 2016 playoffs or whatever, and that Thunder Oklahoma or Golden State series, the Thunder were better than that Golden State team.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Klay Thompson going out of his mind in the third quarter of Game 6, making 35-foot three-pointers, then they would have went to the finals. And I said this when I was watching the series because, I don't know if you guys remember this. So that year, the big matchup that everyone thought they were going to see in the Western Conference Finals was the Spurs and Warriors, right? So the Warriors won 73 games. That's the record. We all know that story. The Spurs that year won 65 games. And it was supposed to be this. And then the Thunder came in, and the Thunder were good, right? Kind of under the radar. And they just beat the doors off the Spurs. I mean, they might have went 6 games or something, but they were more physical. The Spurs didn't even know it hit them. And I said this when that series versus Golden State started. As a Cavs fan, I would rather see Golden State than I would have Oklahoma City. I thought that Oklahoma City team was like the best team in the NBA that year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that he really did it to chase rings. I think he could have won a ring in Oklahoma City. It wasn't like LeBron, who was playing with Larry Hughes and, Mo Williams and whatever player that's out of the NBA right now.
Let me ask this. Would Russell Westbrook have stayed?
I think.
I don't know. I don't know that relationship.
I think Westbrook's ego's too big to go and play with other people, honestly. I think Kevin Durant has a more passive attitude about it, where he just wants to play. But
so you think Russell may have pushed, is this like the Kobe Shaq situation of who pushed who out of the team, Was it Kobe that pushed Shaq or Shaq pushed Kobe?
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it because, Kobe was the reason that Shaq left the Lakers. He pretty much forced him out. That team could have won several more titles if they would have stayed together. And Kobe was probably upset that Shaq was the best player on that team in all of the 4 of the finals they were in. I think it's kind of the same thing. But it's just an ego.
Yeah, I think basketball is interesting in that regard. It's the only sport that's like that, because it is such a quote one-on-one sport, and these guys really feel like they can carry by themselves a team to a championship, that it's just like you have a great thing going, and then they want to leave because they want to prove that they can do it on their own. Although I don't know what Kevin Durant's doing. Obviously, he's not proving he can do it on his own. And I also think he's not. I don't know if he's passive because he like makes the fake Twitter accounts to defend himself. So like he cares. I mean, like he's just like a weird guy. I think he's just a weird dude.
Why doesn't he use his name?
That's a good point. He's
I mean,
yeah,
at least
he's a weird.
LeBron uses his name to subtweet people.
I don't know. I've listened to Durant do. It's like 3 podcasts now with Bill Simmons, and I don't know. He's a very weird way of going about things. He's definitely not LeBron. He's not Kobe. But I just feel like he doesn't really care what people think about him in a way. He just kind of wants to be his own dude. But I don't know. It's tough to be that guy when you're in the NBA made the decisions that he's made. All right. Looks like we've wrapped up a lot of conversation about Game 3 and beyond. Let's give our Game 4 preview. Tony, what do you got to say?
Does it even matter? I mean, let's be real.
Good analysis, Tony. Just stop there.
All right. That's great.
That's all you need to say.
From Tony.
Well,
Please
what I'm
elaborate.
saying,
Go ahead.
I mean, we're down 3-0 already. I mean, it kind of depends on it. Where does Golden State want to celebrate their title at? Do they want to stick it to us and celebrate in Cleveland, or they want to take it back to Oracle? Because if that's the case, then, you're going to get elimination game, James. He's going to put down 40, probably have a triple-double. What role players are going to show up? And maybe eke out a 5-point or less win. I can also see where we lose by 20.
Ricky, what do you got for us?
Well, so I was having this conversation at lunch today with some people. Number one, we officially ranked Cleveland as the worst city to win your championship in. And this conversation stemmed out of the hockey game going on tonight between Washington and Las Vegas, where Washington could win their title in Las Vegas, which we ranked as probably top 5 cities you could win a championship in. So that being said, no one wants to win their title in Cleveland. I think Golden State's going to do everything in their power to take it to a 5th game so they can win it in Oracle in the Bay. I don't know if even that's going to be enough for this Cavs team. They might still find a way to blow it. But my money is on Cleveland winning Game 4, and then the Warriors will wrap it up in Game 5.
Ideally, I'd like to have them win 1 game, but I don't know if they are going to be able to do that. It's going to be no team has ever come back 0-3 in the finals. Last year's Cavs team might have. This year's definitely not. So
Don't count out an elimination game, James.
if anything, I hope they play well. It stays competitive. LeBron gets a nice standing O from the crowd. If you guys want tickets, I'm sure they'll be pretty cheap on Friday if you want to do that. So I guess overall our expectations. Ricky, you think they'll win a game? I hope they win a game. Tony, you think they're probably going to get beat. All right, so a quick wrap-up then on the series. Tony, who do you think is going to win Finals MVP?
I mean, you have to give it to Durant again, wouldn't you? I mean,
that's a no-brainer. It's Durant.
I don't think there's any question. Like Steph Curry had a good quarter. That 4th quarter at Oracle in Game 2. But other than that, I mean, how could you say anybody other than Durant? Because Durant has technically won 2 games. J.R. Smith won a game for Golden State. I apologize for that.
Ricky, so you think Katie's a surefire MVP?
I would say, yeah, KD is a surefire MVP. Outside of the Cavs coming back and winning this in 7 somehow, in which case, obviously, LeBron will win it. But I don't see anyone on the Warriors getting it outside of KD. I mean, Steph's game last night was just atrocious. And KD really, everyone gives Steph accolades in game 2, but KD had a pretty good game 2 as well. He had 10 of 14 shooting. He scored, 28 whatever points. I mean, he played a good game 2. So yeah, it's KD hands down, no question.
Do you guys think there's any way or anything that could happen to where the Cavs could lose and LeBron would still win the MVP?
Only if he would have continued his pace from game 1. I think if he could have gotten swept or in 5 or in 6 and averaged 50 plus points, 8 rebounds and 8 assists, then yes. But no, he listen. Andre Iguodala is widely accepted.
Tony, you want to interject there?
If he's putting up those numbers, we're up 2-1.
Okay, Tony, the question was whether or not he would win MVP and they would lose the series.
Yes.
Yeah. But, I'm just saying we'd be up 2-1 if LeBron was putting up these numbers that you're throwing out here. Just wanted to remind you.
Well, I don't know if we would have won game 2 with LeBron putting up those numbers, but maybe. We didn't win game 1. I mean, you're basically saying that we'd have won the last 2 games because he did put up those numbers and we lost game 1.
Yeah.
Which I really wish this podcast would have started after game 1 because I feel like it would have been a much better introductory episode. But
that would have been better. Now we're in a state of mourning.
But no, my last point on that is if he didn't win it in 2015 when, it was like 35, 10, and 10, and they gave it to Andre Iguodala, who basically won it because he held LeBron James to 35 points a game and not 38 points a game. I don't know. I don't know why they gave it to Andre Iguodala, but yeah, if they didn't give it to LeBron that series, they're not going to give it to him ever.
Yeah,
for losing.
What was it? Jerry West, the only person that's won the MVP when their team is lost, right?
That was back in the 60s.
Sure.
Yeah,
but he
totally different animal now.
I don't know. I was just thinking about this earlier today. Jerry West and LeBron are very similar in terms of what West go to like 7 finals, only won once. Is that something like that? And LeBron is going to be 3-9 after this year. So it's always
3-6.
3-6. I'm sorry, 3-6. So
did you guys know? By the way, I heard this. Did you guys know there's only 11 people that vote on the NBA Finals MVP?
11?
Yes, 11 people.
I bet Brian Windhorst is on that.
Good.
Wendy?
Wendy?
I mean, he's voting for LeBron. I mean,
he's voting for LeBron.
He's already cast his ballot for LeBron on that.
Oh, hopefully it's not Skip Bayless then. All right, that'll be a wrap on the Cavs talk for right now. So, Tony, quickly, what's your take on the NHL Finals? Are you a big Golden Knights fan?
Well, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, the Golden Knights, it's a shame that, they haven't played the way I thought they would in this Stanley Cup. But, their expansion team, they made the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, who could forget when the Browns came back in '99, what happened to them in at least their first game back, let alone the first season. It just goes to show you what can really happen with some smart negotiations and great coaching.
Obviously, you're a big Marc-Andre Fleury fan. Ricky, what do you take on this Brian Colangelo thing? Today he resigned for having 6 burner accounts, apparently operated by his wife. Ricky, what's your hot take on that?
First thing I'd do is get a divorce from my wife. The second thing I would do is probably question how I was ever able to get into that position, yet I'm so stupid that I gave my wife insider information about the organization, and she felt that she could go and tweet that information out there to get me fired. The whole thing is just insane. I mean, the things that people do that are in these positions that just seem to normal human beings as being so obviously like, don't do that. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to me. But yeah, get a divorce first thing.
Terrell Owens not going to his own Hall of Fame induction. Tony, what's your hot take on this?
Well, I mean, he's already said flat out, he was going to do it in his
way. And like I said, his way of the game has always been do it his way. And this is just him doing it. He's already let the Hall of Fame know that was the intentions when he was inducted in the first place. So, I mean, decision, right? What do you guys think then?
I mean, I don't know. He's probably doing sit-ups somewhere. Is that what he's going to be doing?
I could care less about pro.
I just thought it was interesting. I saw that on Twitter. All right.
I get thrown the fight.
Anyone else have
Yeah.
anything to add on this sports topic before we move on to something else?
Let me just say something about Draymond Green before we stop.
Oh my God!
Please, your floor,
I mean,
floor is yours.
Can we give Tony a timer on this rant that he's about to go on? Like 30 seconds is all he gets to talk about Draymond Green.
I am starting it right now. Go, Tony. You're on.
what I don't understand is how in God's name Draymond Green can sit there and parade around the basketball court like he does, and still he's respected around the league. Number one, and two, how is that just allowed by the officials? I mean, yeah, LeBron can pal all he wants to the referees. He knows when to not cross that line. Draymond does not, and all he does is provoke. That's all he does. He's a provoker. How is that a good basketball player?
Okay, that was 32 seconds. I will say I did during the game last night. Channing Frye had a really nice tweet over the same exact thing. That he said that he's going to start the season out looking like a buffoon to the referees. So at the end of the season, the refs will just say, "Oh, that's just Channing." So other players in the league know about it, and they take some deference to it, I think.
Can I ask? Did anyone follow the NBA officials' Twitter feed that they were like tweeting back at fans during the game?
No, I did not.
Get on there and look at that.
Was Ed Malloy hot taking online? What was happening?
So like the officials have this verified Twitter account. I guess it's like I don't even know what the handle on it is, but yeah, they were like tweeting fans and like basically like arguing back at every call that was going to be made during the game to let people know why that was a good call, which I think it says a lot about the state of the officiating in the NBA that they feel the need to do this. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I don't have Twitter, so I couldn't get on there and look at it, but
I was trying to conserve battery life in the stadium, but if it's anything like Steve Javy coming on and messing up, with pretty much everything he says, the opposite happens in the game. Just like Mike Pereira, he's useless. He's might as well get a scarecrow after you.
I'll give who was the one that worked for CBS a couple years ago? Who was the referee analyst for that? Because he was even worse than what Mike Pereira was.
Which for who?
He worked for CBS 2 years ago. We need a stat guy to back my information up for that.
I don't feel like looking that up at this point.
Hey, we have no journalistic responsibility with this show. Just say whatever you want, okay?
All right. Moving on to sports. This week in pop culture, Tony, what's some TV shows you watched this week? Something? Do you have any opinions on this?
Oh wow. The only thing I've really been doing.
Tony, before you answer this, all right, the target demographic of this podcast is like 22 to like 35. So just remember that before you spout off on some geriatric show you watch.
That's not even fair. I mean, because besides watching NBA hot takes all day from the boys on ESPN, for the majority of the part, I just catch up on the DVR. And I did happen to watch the series finale of Designated Survivor. Up to today. Yeah, it took me only a month to get around to that.
Yeah. I'm sure that was really weighing down that DVR of yours.
Oh yeah. Well, besides that, a lot of good stuff, reality TV wise.
All right, that great conversation.
Matt, can I save this segment, please?
Yes, please,
yes,
Ricky.
Please, because it's not fair that you're asking me about what I'm watching in TV.
Holy shit, Westworld. I mean, that's all you need to know about. So I have that. Did you watch the Recappables and the Theory podcast?
Yes.
Off the Ringer?
Yes, the Recappables.
So did you listen to the Theory one, though, that was on Tuesday?
Yes, I did. In fact.
Okay, so Charlotte Hale being Arnold's daughter.
The daughter.
Who was supposed to be the son Charlie and named it Charlie versus Charlotte and trying to throw Bernard off. I mean, that whole revelation was mind blowing to me. And I can't tell Amanda that because she doesn't want me to ruin this for her. But I'm 100% certain that's true.
When I heard that, it makes perfect sense because what they've
Oh,
been
yeah.
saying all season is like the Charlotte character, like why is she on the show? Like what's her deal? You know nothing about her. You don't know why she has the job, why she's that high up in the company. But if she was Arnold's
And
daughter,
she's so young.
yes. If she was Arnold's daughter, it would make sense why she's there. Just like William's daughter, the moment she appeared on screen, you knew exactly who she was. You knew that she was the Man in Black's daughter, and that's why she was on the show.
Yep.
For me,
yeah. So this.
Go ahead, Rick.
No. I go on. I want to hear what you have to say.
For me, the theories about the show are like 50% why I love the show. Like think about all these theories, especially the ones that Shoemaker and like Danny Heifetz do on that podcast. They make me even more interested in watching it every week, which is, it's like watching Lost. Honestly, it's like the theories about the show are just as a part of the show as what you're watching on HBO every week.
Yes, 100% agree. I look forward to that podcast as much as I look forward to watching the show.
So do
And
I.
I don't think there's another bit of television I could say that. I mean, I couldn't even say that about Game of Thrones. I couldn't say that about anything else. I seriously look forward to the podcast as much as I do. And partly because it's a good podcast, but yes, you're right. Partly because most of the fun of that show is just theorizing about what's going to happen next.
I think this season, I watched last season live. This season far exceeds what happened last season because last season was so much setup. You're in the park, you're watching the hosts interact, do their like things. A lot of the same stuff happened, but this season, like I don't know what the hell's going on 95% of the time. So that's always nice.
Yeah, I thought last season they spent. I mean, it was like, okay, we get the main theme, right? What defines consciousness? What defines being a sentient being? You know, are these robots, conscious? Are they human? It was like, yeah, we get it after like episode 3, and then we spent 10 episodes reviewing that. But yes, I agree. This season is much better.
All right, awesome. That's Stevie. Tony, Ocean's 8 comes out on Friday. Hot takes on the all-women heist movie.
This was a setup, Tony. By the way, that's how you set someone up with a question.
Evidently, I'm interested in watching it. I mean, from what I hear, it's the perfect. It's got the ocean, I guess, archetype, if you will. I mean, we have the plan to make the heist. Let's build the team. Let's make the heist. I mean, it sounds like fun to me. I mean, just because it's all a movie.
Okay, it doesn't have Steven Soderbergh. He's not attached. He's a producer, but he's not a director. So I think that's important.
As long as it keeps the same formula, I don't see why it can't at least be an entertaining video or movie.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm there. Because I know I watched Logan Lucky last week, and that's Steven Soderbergh, and it's basically Ocean's 11 with hillbillies. Very fun, very fast-paced film, great acting. So I think I'll watch it. Ricky, thoughts on Ocean's 8 coming out on Friday?
I will watch it because my wife is a raging feminist, and we will have to go look at the 8 women try to do what the men did a couple years ago. So.
Well, it's pulling a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, so we'll see how it goes. All right, moving on. Music. Tony, any big songs you listened to this week? Any albums that you want?
Hey, can I interrupt and do a big finish because I've got to go?
Okay, Ricky, you got to get the big finish. Go ahead and get the big finish.
Yes. I don't have a big finish, but yeah. Do we have a big how do we sign off on these podcasts?
Well, we can just sign off. This has been the 3GA podcast, better known as Three Guys Analyze, about all sorts of things. I am your host, Matt. Tony?
I'm Tony Creer.
And Rick.
Yes, sir. What's up?
That's the way you're supposed to sign off. Great ending to the podcast. Those 4, maybe 3 people that listened and watched this, have a nice day and enjoy game
419.
The NBA Finals.
Big up Bartolini, Mini, Money, Mo, and Flower. You're the chosen one.